Imagine living your everyday, day-to-day life with your family, and then all of a sudden you, your neighbor, and all the other people in the village have been hit by a massive flood. Therefore, you guys have to travel miles and miles just to make it to shelter for the night. While your house has a flood, the people on the other side of your country are facing a massive drought, where many food shortages are occurring due to water loss. While there is not an adequate source of food or water, many people of this country are becoming much more susceptible to infectious diseases, such as malaria. Unfortunately, this is a harsh reality for many people in underdeveloped countries, such as Africa and Bangladesh. And both food shortages and increased floods are consequences due to climate change. And although this may seem like it's something that'll never happen to us, we are also, in the U.S., are facing climate change consequences, such as a decline in honeybee populations. Honeybees are big pollinators of crops, so without them, we lose many crops, such as avocados, coffee, and almonds, three things that many Americans love. So today my topic is on climate change. And when I first started taking classes at COC, I knew pretty close to nothing about the environment or anything, but by the end of the semester, after taking Bio 106, I grew a passion for it, and I wanted to learn more about it. So since then, I've taken a few different environmental courses just to further my knowledge in climate change. And also, according to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, there's a general 97% consensus amongst climate scientists that climate change is occurring. So it's a pretty popular opinion amongst those in the scientific community. So first, I'm going to talk about the evidence of climate change. Then I'll be talking about how it affects us. And then finally, I'll talk about how climate change is currently being handled. So first, the evidence of climate change. I'll talk about global warming. Second, I'll talk about sea level rise. So for global warming, since both the information that I got about global warming and sea level rise all got taken from an article published by NASA on climate change. So first, global warming. Since the 19th century, Earth's average temperature has gone up about 1.1 degrees Celsius. And although this may seem like something that's pretty minuscule, it has a big effect towards many ecosystems. Also, carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are at an all-time high. Carbon dioxide is a hot gas, so when it goes up into the atmosphere, it causes further global warming, therefore increases the effects of it. Now that I told you a little bit about global warming, I'll talk to you about sea level rise. So, according to an article written by Alistair Duell, published by Climate Central, the annual rate of sea level rise has increased to 3.3 milliliters in 2014 alone. Again, although 3.3 milliliters may seem very small, it does have a big effect towards many people and other species. Over the last century, sea level has rose about 2 feet, which is causing many people to lose their homes and other detrimental effects. Now that I told you about the evidence of climate change, let me tell you about how it affects us. So first I'll talk about food shortages, then I'll talk about respiratory illnesses. So global warming can lead to food shortages because it causes a loss of resources such as water and energy. Also, it leads to a decline in honeybee populations who pollinate hundreds of different crops for us. Without them, we are kind of in a bind when it comes to the amount of food that we produce. Also, due to water and energy resource depletion, the prices of both of those will go up, causing food prices to also go up. According to an article written by according to an article published by Citizens Climate Lobby, written by Alex Amonette, bees are on the path to extinction due to climate change. So now that I told you about food shortages, I'll tell you about respiratory illnesses. So increased carbon levels leads to an increase in respiratory illnesses because the more carbon dioxide you breathe, the more susceptible you come to respiratory illnesses. According to an article written in 2015 by Brittany Patterson, a journalist in the Scientific American News, asthma rates have risen dramatically. Between the years of 2001 and 2009, the number of individuals diagnosed with asthma rose by 4.3 million. And this rate is only believed to be increased if we don't lessen our carbon emissions. By 2100, it's believed that 1 out of every 10 individuals will have asthma due to the increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now that I told you about how climate change affects us, I'll tell you about how our current administration is handling it and what you can do as an individual to lessen your carbon footprint. So first, Trump does not exactly believe in climate change. He believes that it's a hoax created by the Chinese to benefit their economy. In fact, whenever it gets a little chilly outside, typically he'll tweet that we need a dose of global warming because it's cold outside. So, according to an article written by Rebecca Gasper of the World Resources Institute, Trump has basically taken many steps back in our climate efforts, such as pulling out of the Paris Agreement and having budget cuts to the Environmental Protection Agency. Although Trump doesn't exactly believe in climate change, there are many things you can do to help it. And that includes voting for representatives that take your stance on climate change, reducing, reusing, recycling, and reducing your waste altogether. Also, riding your bike or taking public transportation when available are all things that you can do to lessen the amount of carbon that you emit. Now that I've told you about the evidence of climate change, why it's important, and what you can do about it, I hope that you can leave today thinking about your carbon footprint so we don't have to live in a world where our house is underwater and we have food shortages, and that we can help those who are currently experiencing this.